Shelley Armato, CEO and co-founder of MySmartPlans. We have another episode of Construction 2030. And okay, this is going to be a little bit alarming, I'm sure, as you're watching this, to realize that this is actually my husband. So this is Dominick Armato. He is the instigator of the whole company. He instigated me into doing this. He was the duper. Like, he was the one that's like, I have this really good idea, Shelley. How about if we... And so I said yes. And so here we are today, radically changing the construction industry, one project at a time. And I thought it was so important that you hear from the mastermind behind me. And roll your eyes again, babe. Do the whole thing. He's so good at rolling his eyes at me.
Not at you.
Yeah, at me though. But so Dominick is like the yin to my yang. So Dominick is like, I'll throw out, hey babe, I need to be in wherever tomorrow. And he will say, can you give me all the details? And the answer is no, figure it out. And so a lot of times he'll give me the look like he's giving me right now, because actually this is the funny thing. Like 20 minutes ago, I went in his office. I'm like, hey babe, I need to do a podcast with you. So I'm going to interview you and put it on the podcast. And his alarm was like, what should I wear? I mean, like, he needs all the details. He is an amazing man, and I am honored to be his wife. And so Dominick, tell the audience about like why we did what we are doing every single day and what the impact that you're making in your business that impacted our lives where we are today.
Well, I think the number one reason was that we wanted to have a fair, level playing field with everybody on the construction project, from bidding all the way to the execution of the project. So we were trying to level the playing field, that when the low bid was the low bid, it was the true bid, and that games weren't going to be played with general contractors trying to make these low bidders, how could you say it, stay in business by playing the change order game. And I think that's what we set out to do, and that's what we are doing today.
Yeah, to be clear, so everybody is like, well, you're a woman-owned business. I mean, when we declared our status as a woman-owned business, I started the business. Dominick was still running his painting company, and I was I was in front of everything and doing and building and creating. And then in 2010, he closed his legacy company of 45 years and joined me. So it was kind of like he kind of tempted me, like, hey, Shelley, let's see what we can figure out before I leave our livelihood, because he was always the stable breadwinner in our family. I was a realtor and I had a mortgage company, but my income was always fluctuating, and he was always the stable genius of our family. And so we sat down after we started the business and landed our first $1 billion project. And our first $1 billion project, Dominick was alarmed. Well, we've been alarmed a lot about the deviations in the projects and what we catch. But for Dominick and what I witnessed, Dominick, and you can tell me if you agree, if you think this is right or not. What I witnessed with you was like you caught the fox's tail. I remember one time whenever you were bidding this huge, because your company did all these huge projects, you were like the go-to guy. Like, you could call Dominick and say, hey, Dominick, this is blah, 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 and we have a question about something, and in 5 seconds, Dominick would say, well, blah, blah, blah. Here's the answer. Here's what you need to do. Here's what happened. And it was whenever he had his competition come in and do business with us, I remember the look on your face, like, are you... And I try not to cuss on this podcast because sometimes they get words in the way, but I remember you coming home and saying, babe, I never dreamed what I just saw happen really was happening. I had my suspicions, but the game has changed. So speak to that.
Yeah, and what I think Shelley's alluding to is how technology back then even aided some of this. And we're going to say the word that Shelley hates to say, bid rigging. But, people used to carry pagers back in the day. And when subcontractors would smooth up to the, what they called back then, the secretary in the trailer, the secretary in the office. They'd smooth with these women, and the subcontractor would get a page with a number to the bid that he just bid to see if he was the low bid on bid day. So games were being played early on, even before technology really came into the play. And MySmartPlans was created to eliminate that, because we pushed the information out to all the players, or I shouldn't say players, but subcontractors and people bidding, that they have all the exact vetted information that the people that we put behind our software, our project information managers, are gathering, so that everybody has fair information. And then we date and timestamp that when you become a registered user to the dashboard, that when people say, and they come in low and they get a contract and they can say, well, I didn't see that information, we can actually go back in the audit trail of what MySmartPlans does along with the project information manager and say, no, you received this at blah, 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 blah time.
Mm-hmm.
So,
well, my magic number is always 242 for some reason. I don't know, when I'm talking about it, I'm like, well, our audit trail shows at 242 you did something. It's never 242, it's whatever the time is, but it's also been alarming. So this is probably the dysfunction in our relationship, and after this business is to where you and I are not every day running the business, and maybe we're in Italy or Sicily actually, and sitting and enjoying your citizenship that you're getting, and we're having a glass of wine. Remember in that one little place that you told me I talked really loud because it was a cave, and I thought everyone spoke English, and Dominick's like, Shelley, they don't know what you're saying because they don't speak English, and I was alarmed. Maybe our conversation there is going to be about just how many things have changed from our very first project, when the general contractor tried to change the specifications behind the owner's back, that in 2 minutes, Bob Frazier had every piece of information and saved that project. I mean, we still don't know the exact number, but we know that it finished 3 months ahead of schedule, and we know that there was no litigation. We know that he had his turnover documents, and we know that he was able to protect his bid, which I remember Bob, he was just like, what? What did you guys do? Remember that conversation, Dominick?
I do. And, you know, Shelley's always been making our family accountable from our grandson. Did you eat the Nutella?
Right. No, he said he didn't do it, babe. Yeah.
We have a little grandson who loves Nutella, but he would say no. And
he did not eat it, and it'd be all over his face.
And so accountability is what drives our company, to make sure that everybody has that accountability, so that the owner, regardless of who that owner is getting what his contract says. And the games of the good old boys, as Shelley would like to play it. And
what do you mean would like to play it? Wait a minute, rephrase that please, sir. Thank you.
Well, you like to play that up, is what I'm trying to say, is that The Good Old Boys Network, you know, she plays that up by, hey, let's go out to dinner, have a couple of dirty martinis and a seafood tower or two, and hey, by the way, am I the low bid? So we've seen a lot of things in a lot of those games, and I'm sure the people listening to this podcast have many, many stories of the same thing, whether you're a subcontractor, a major mechanical contractor, or even a general contractor.
Mm-hmm.
We sat in a general contractor's office in Virginia Beach, who would take ridiculously low bids, so that contractor, if it was $500,000 low, he said, I just put 2 people watching them, making sure they did it. I go, well, wouldn't you want that person to survive something like that? He goes, I don't care. If they go broke, they go broke. But as long as I get my job done, I mean, I can put that $500,000 in my pocket. So.
But Dominick, do you remember that meeting? Okay, so Dominick is like, it takes a lot for you to react to anger, except when we were in Denver and the guy threw a beer on my head and you jumped up and you were like going to kill him and throw him over the edge, which I was like, who is that man? Because you're slow to anger. I mean, like, you have a really long fuse, which I'm appreciative of that because my fuse is so short. But I remember sitting in, the guy's name was Steve. Remember, and he had that huge dog that he had a big chain on. It was like trying to intimidate us because he didn't want us going and telling the owner what we had to offer, because he was in this arena of snakes. Like he was a snake handler. I mean, I don't know. But anyway, I remember looking over at Dominick across the room, and I thought that the fuse was going to be lit because you wanted to choke him, because you knew that the guy that was a low bid, a $500,000 low bid, he didn't give the documents that he needed in order to do the job. But the guy took the bait. He took the job. His job, like whenever you did your business, you had to keep your employees working. So sometimes you were taking risks that were really not able to be mitigated because you had to keep your guys working. I mean, you had all these employees working for you. You know what I'm saying?
And another, for instance, we'll give you another, folks, whoever we're talking to, but I guess.
I love you need the details. Who's watching this?
But anyway, another situation that happened to a general contractor that told us afterwards he wished he had our software and our people on the project was that his subcontractor had given him a lien release on a project for the material that it showed that it was paid, but it really wasn't paid. The subcontractor had an outstanding balance of, let's just say, $200,000 of old bills, and then when he got the draw for that project of $200,000, he paid all his back stuff. The supplier took all the old invoices that weren't even to that job, gave him a lien release that, yeah, he received $200,000. But when the project was over, that general contractor got a lien for almost $350,000 of material that he thought was paid for and had lien releases, but no, the supplier just applied it to the old invoices. So having the correct information, having the project information manager, our PIMs, involved in the gathering of this information, vetting this information, and auditing this information, and building that closeout allows not only the general contractor, but the owners to know that they got what they paid for.
Yeah. So yesterday, so I think it was Monday, I went in Dominick's office. I'm like, babe, we have to be in Orlando Wednesday morning. We have a meeting at the airport, and I need to be there at 8 o'clock Wednesday morning. He's like, okay. So this is Dominick. He's like, okay, Shelley, hang on just a second. We've got points on that. Okay, where do you want to stay? Oh, okay. Well, hang on, I got a point at the Hilton. So can we do the Hilton? I'm like, whatever. This is my thing, whatever. So anyway, so he's juggling all the schedule and doing everything behind the scenes. And then I come back and I'm like, oh my gosh, Dominick, I reread the email and it's actually Thursday morning I need to be there, not Wednesday morning. So he gave me grace because I have credits, because being a husband and wife owner of a business that started in a garage with $15,000 in a dream, we've had some marital counseling sessions. Anyway, so the situation changed and we had to, he had to change everything. Well, anyway, luckily for us, we were able to get our meeting at the Orlando International Airport. Here's the interesting thing. And Dominick and I left there going, oh my God. So apathy is our competition. Believe that or not, we have no competition in our space except apathy. So we're sitting in this meeting and they're like, well, every one of our projects have litigation. We're like, well, imagine doing pre-discovery and you have no litigation. Do you guys have your as-built at the end of the project? Well, someone else has to, it was just like this thing, like you just wanted to shake their teeth and say, look, there is a new Uber. We're the Uber to the taxi industry. That's the thing that's so exciting. And like whenever Uber showed up, everybody's like, oh, well, we can't do this, blah, 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 until they ride in an Uber. Like once you get in your first Uber ride, you're like, okay, why would I ever hail a taxi again? So anyway, so we left there after everything, all the changes that happened. Even when we got to the airport, the agent didn't put, I'm Dominick's companion. So on Southwest, the agent didn't change the ticket. And it was like, la, la, la. And everything that could go wrong, like, no, that's not true. There was a lot of things that went right, but there was a few things that went wrong. But anyway, leaving that meeting, what did you think, Dominick? Tell them what we talked about after we left that meeting.
Well,
I mean, we have to be careful about exactly what we talked
Well,
about.
basically what we said was that they're going to stumble through life in 20 years. You know, they think about technology doing it for them. And as we know, and as we've all been part of that, you know, we buy an iPhone 12, and what's the first thing Apple's doing? They're going to put another camera. Now we're going to have 4 cameras, and we're going to call it the iPhone 13. So technology, even when you think you have the latest and greatest, it changes.
Yeah.
The one thing that doesn't change is that MySmartPlans can adapt instantaneously to that technology change, because we have the human beings behind our technology that's going to adapt and morph into the new technology. They're trying to do this with Maximo. IBM's a huge company and has huge dollars and deep pockets, but as we know, they're grabbing information from their models, from whether it be Revit or Bentley, and the first thing Autodesk is going to do is they're going to change. We've got 2021 model, but the 2022 model has got new hood ornaments that don't belong to the 2021. So you're going to have to buy the 2022 if you want that new hood ornament. And that's the same thing that's happening with owners, excuse me, owners and the building products that they buy. It could be air handler 1001, but the next day it could be 1001A, and they don't even know it.
Well, don't you love, so whenever we pull out our closeout, our turnover, the looks in the room are like, oh my God, wait, where, how, what, when? And we're like, oh, we're gathering all that from day one. But anyway, okay, so Dominick, turn around, and there is something on your desk I want you to show everyone. Turn around and I'll tell you what it is. Okay, you don't need all the details. Just turn around. Okay, see, what did I get you for your birthday?
Oh, it's right over here. Let me show everybody.
Yeah.
It's my bobblehead.
Yeah. So this is something so hilarious.
On the back of my cape, what does it say?
MySmartPlans. Is that? But I mean, I think we kind of broke his spring a little bit because he whatever.
I think grandkids have some.
Yeah, they come in and they love playing with the bobblehead. But anyway, I again think that when we're sitting in Sicily, looking at the beautiful, beautiful sea, I think you're going to have to do a pat on your back and say, it took a painting contractor, subcontractor to change the industry, and a wife that said, enough is enough. I want my husband back. I want you to be at the birthday parties. I want you to have to be able, I want you not have to, I want you to be able to enjoy your life. And so our legacy of our company, it sounds like, oh, well, you know, they're changing the industry. Actually, what we're doing is we're giving you your life back. Imagine an organized project that everyone has the same information, that's vetted, organized, and archived. Wait, I'm going to tell this really quick story. So the other day we had Dominick's, his old company, the competition came in, and this guy, a lot of times people are angry in the construction industry, which you have a right to be because you've had to deal with so many shenanigans. So anyway, he walked in and I'm like, how you doing, sir? And he's like, so are you Dominick's wife? And I said, yeah, that's me. He said, what is this all about? So I gave him the whole story, like what we're doing behind the scenes and why as a subcontractor, you should never bid a project unless it is on MySmartPlans, unless it's organized, verified, and vetted. Otherwise, you're setting yourself up for a huge document disaster. So anyway, so he said, wow, where's Dominick? I need to talk to him. And I said, well, actually, he's with the client because I know you go and you meet with a lot of clients because, I mean, it's what happens now. They're like, I need to talk to Dominick. I need to talk to Shelley. So we don't always get to travel together. But anyway, it was one of those, again, moments where it was like, Dominick needs to hear the superhero that you are, because you took a huge risk in closing your other company. You took a huge risk when you said, Shelley, write a check we're going to do this. You took a huge risk because I shut down all my other businesses, which I was very successful. I brought a lot of money in. You said, look, we're going to do this, and I can't be in your business right now, but I can be here, and let's figure out what happens. So here we are now, 14 years later, almost 15. Is it 15 years almost? Like March is 15.
May will be, let's see, May of '06. Yes, it'll be 15 years.
Holy cow, Batman. Who does that? And I mean, another thing that people are always asking us, well, who funded you? How did you do this? How did you do this? You're looking at the funders right here. Dominick and I, we flipped 8 houses. We flipped 3 commercial buildings because we know what we're doing when it comes to that stuff. And we knew that if an investor came in, they would try to do something funky. So we just kept moving, our feet moving. So we're funded by the FAA, considers this an allowable expense. The Corps of Engineers, we've radically transformed those projects. We're going to be releasing some information soon on the first Corps of Engineer project that had no modifications. They were able to hold the contractor accountable. They were able to get their red zone ready turnover. I mean, that's us. How is it that the superhero that's behind your shoulder has been like at the wheel? Of course, I'm driving because I do drive, but you're like the support behind the support, and I'm the support behind your support. But we're excited. We're going to be meeting with Pete Buttigieg. We're trying our hardest to make sure that if you're bidding a project, you can have certainty, you can have clarity. You don't have to be at the mercy of the general contractor sitting back and trying to get you to do something that you think, oh, it's kind of like the gossip thing. You know, like if someone's gossiping about someone else, they're going to gossip about you. So if they're trying to get you to do something, to be in this deal, they're going to do that to somebody else too. You're not the only like candle in the wick or wick in the candle. So first of all, Dominick, I'm going to say thank you. I have to run to another meeting. Thank you for your willingness to not have all the details. That's where you say you're welcome.
Okay, you're welcome.
And thank you for the resolute businessman that you are. Thank you for the ability to, I just learned this new word that is so, it so applies to us, but I don't know, it's somewhere in my brain floating around. But I love that we have figured out with tenacity, passion, and drive, and compassion to transform this industry and know that we're on a mission to give people back their lives, to be able to succeed in their business, and oh my God, and go to their grandkids' birthday party. Do we have some amazing birthday parties?
We do.
Yeah. My daughter told me today we're planning a trip to Disney World for 15. So, you just rolled your eyes. That was a left roll. So that means, oh God, I got to get on the planning thing because where are we going to stay? I heard that. I heard you. I heard exactly what you said. It's not till February. But anyway, we are here to serve the community. We have a 1-ring phone policy here. The phone rings once, we answer, we solve the problem of the person that's calling. But you would be surprised some of the phone calls we've gotten. I mean, we've talked to Zurich because we mitigate all the risk. The banks call us now. Oh, shut up, Dominick. He just called me. That was so funny. I have the phone right here. The banks are now mandating us and saying, look, we need to know what's going on for our clients. Believe it or not, general contractors, they try to, that's a whole nother Netflix series, but they're calling us now and saying, look, we can't do this project without you because the risk is too great. And of course, schools and airports, and I mean, you name it, we're building it. The one client that we are on a mission to get is freaking MoDOT and KDOT. They're right here. How are they not using us to support their projects? Mr. Armato, what do you have to say about that?
Maybe we should
What?
take them out to dinner, give them some dirty martinis and a seafood taco.
It's illegal.
Bad idea.
Yeah.
Bad idea.
You know what? That was not even planned through. You need to be a better planner than that. You cannot take government people to dinner.
Well, you're right. Maybe we can take their dogs for a long walk.
Right. Or like the Zurich guy said, oh my gosh, you've just streamlined this whole industry. You're going to cost my daughter her job. Oh, I was like, LOL. Okay, we'll hire her.
Well, I'm going to sign off because I've got to get to.
Yeah, I got to go too. Okay,
All
have a fabulous day.
Thanks,
Thank
Shelley.
you.